But it feels like these warriors of the left and the cultural left, who, again, people rolled their eyes at 20 years ago as the lunatics from the humanities department, well, they've been mainstreamed. They really have been. They've made it into the bureaucracy. They've made it into the bureaucracy in companies. They've made it into all of these things that essentially mean, really crazy things like it's more important to have social dividend issues than, say, a campaign for a company tax cut. This stuff exists everywhere. I know on the outside, as you had a really interesting repetitive discussion, and rightly so, that you came back to this conversation about the death of the West or the end of the West. You had a really strong editorial about the Prime Minister and about statues. But do you think that we are very close to the point of no return where, the country that we think we've been taking advantage of for too long, and the kook is taking over?
Well, I think we are at a critical juncture where we need to make some decisions, and the silent majority, that mainstream that keeps voting for centre-right parties in this country. Centre-right parties have won 7 of the last 9 federal elections. The coalition has prevailed. And yet many Conservatives consider these culture wars beneath them. So they don't fight them. They're focused on the economy and jobs and surpluses, and they think this is just a frivolity that exists on university campuses or on Twitter, but it doesn't. This is part of everyday life, and it's intruding into people's lives whether they like it or not. When they remove classics from streaming services, when they remove comedies and prevent you from watching what you want to watch because they've made the decision for you that content is unacceptable, then it's having an impact on you. And that's just a very small example that we've seen in the last few days. But these redefining of words, things that are once acceptable are now suddenly unacceptable. You can't even have a positive portrayal of police officers without people getting upset. You can't say all lives matter without jeopardising your job. People have lost their jobs for saying that, for being critical of the Black Lives Movement, not the notion of all Black Lives Matter, because of course they do, but the movement is a Marxist movement that's very much anti-police, anti-capitalist. It's got all sorts of political goals and motivations behind it. So I do wish that Conservatives would wake up. I would wish the mainstream would wake up and realise this culture war is real, and the left has been fighting it like hell for decades. They've captured every public institution. They've been in the schools for decades, and now they've pretty much captured much of the corporate world. You look at how woke corporates are now, the virtue signalling we see from them, from whether they're backing causes like same-sex marriage or whether they're backing the Black Lives Movement. They're prepared to get involved in these divisive debates and take a position. And I think that's all come about because one side has been fighting the culture wars and the other side's been pretending it doesn't matter. And it's a trivial thing, and it's not a trivial thing. It's something that is critical to our future.